Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Prabhakar. Welcome to my program In Conversation with Achievers. Today, I am privileged to have a conversation with CS Sudhakar Saraswatula, who is not only one of the most successful professional, but most popular and sought after speaker on professional matters. I am taking a departure from the normal brief introductions and giving a lengthy introduction so as to capture the great contributions made by Mr. Sudhakar to the profession. Mr. Sudhakar is a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Chartered Secretary UK, and law graduate from Mumbai University. He has 4 decades of wide spectrum of experience in corporate secretarial, legal, finance, and accounts. Mr. Sudhakar has worked in Reliance Industries Limited as Vice President Corporate Secretarial for 17 glorious years and with Berger Paints Limited for 15 years as Senior General Manager Finance and Accounts. He has immensely contributed to the profession by way of being member of Secretarial Standard Committee of ICSI and Vice Chairman of Experts Committee on Secretarial Standards of ICSI for the year 21 and 22, member of Secretarial Standard Board of ICSI since 2016 onwards, member of Ethical Standard Board of ICSI for the year 2023, member of Vision Core Group and Vision Implementation Group of ICSI, and member of several other committees. This he has done all without being an elected member of the Central Council of ICSI. Regular faculty at Institute of Directors, guest faculty at ISB, Hyderabad, NISM, ICLS Academy of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and guest speaker at IIM Mumbai and IIT Roorkee. He has addressed whopping over 900 plus workshops, seminars, conferences, training programs, and webinars organized by ICSI, ICAI, ICWI, several other chambers of commerce, universities, and educational institutions. He has been faculty member for SMTP, MSOP, CLDP of ICSI for over 20 years, chairman of Study Circle Committee of NIRC, ICSI for a record 12 years, contributed several articles, corporate laws, management, and corporate governance to the professional journals and financial newspapers. His WhatsApp tagline, "My passion, my profession," sums it up all. I have a special regard for him as a professional and more importantly as my elder brother. So sit back and enjoy the conversation with CS Sudhakar Saraswatula. Welcome, Mr. Sudhakar. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Prabha. In fact, since we are brothers, let me tell about to the participants, their audience of this particular recording, that Prabhakar is my brother and I am the elder one and he is the younger one. So sometimes I may call him as Prabha, or for the sake of formality, we will call each other as Prabhakar and Sudhakar. Thank you.
Can you briefly tell us about your schooling and modest roots and how good you were in your studies?
Yeah, at the outset, Prabha, let me thank you for having this interview with me, because about a couple of years before, one more company secretary has done the same thing. Because I always feel that the youngsters need a kind of guidance and from the seniors, how we have traveled throughout our professional life and we could establish ourselves. So I take this as an opportunity and to share some of my experiences with the young company secretaries, especially who are watching this program. Now, coming to my childhood or my academic background, I can't say that I am a brilliant student, but I am an intelligent one and very studious student. And especially as you know that our father used to give a lot of importance to discipline as well as the education. So because of that, though I am not a brilliant student, I was not a brilliant student, but I was very studious. And but unfortunately, what happened was during my academic times, I have 1 or 2 issues. Like when I was in my 10th class, father was transferred because he got promoted as a section officer in Government of India. And that point of time, during my public exams, I was left behind and he was to go to Tirupati for a couple of days. And because of that, in 10th class, my studies got affected. And after that, when I came to higher secondary, there was a separate state demand of Jayandra strike was there for almost the students lost about 10 months and we were about to lose our academic year. But in the last moment, they could save that with the last 2 months coaching and all. So my intermediate got affected. So overall, it was not a very comfortable journey as far as academic is concerned, but it is good. Yeah.
So in those days, in South Indian families, especially people from Andhra Pradesh, every parent wanted their children to do MPC, BPC and become engineers and doctors. And is it the same in your case? And have you ever tried to go to MPC, BPC, or right from the beginning you set your eyes in commerce?
See, somehow I was never comfortable with BPC or MPC and all. I was somehow. And second reason was when by the time I got my admission in the higher secondary because of the father's transfer. So I was a bit late in getting admitted. The academic session was already started, but because of some influence we could get the admission. Because of already a couple of months academic session was started, if I take BPC, I was to follow up and all those things. It was very difficult. So because of that, somehow I could opted for the CEC group. It is called as Commerce, Economics, Civics in those days. And I have no regret because somehow I am always comfortable with commerce only.
I understand there was you are a CA, CS, and there is no CA, CS, ICW in your family before you. So how you came to know about these courses and what motivated you to do CA, CS, a path which nobody took in your family? And did you realize the potential of company secretary as a profession when you started the profession as a student?
Frankly speaking, in our days, unfortunately, if I compare the IQ of our generation with even a graduate also, the IQ used to be so low. We were never having a proper vision because the kind of guidance was not there, the kind of teachings were not there. But however, when I became a graduate, I was aspiring to become an army officer because throughout my college life, I was in NCC. I was both in the infantry as well as air wing, and I was a cadet officer as well as I had some even certificates also in NCC, that B certificate and C certificate. So I was aspiring to go into the services. But somehow father was having aspirations that his children has to have high education. As you know that our father was a brilliant student. But because of economical conditions, he could not pursue his studies further. But he was having an aspiration that his children have to have a higher education. So he was wishing, his wish was that at least as an elder child, I should go for higher education. So one of our cousins who was in the army, he came one day to Delhi and he brainwashed me about army. He said that don't get swayed away the way it is there in the movies. The army officer's life is not like that. So better you go for higher education instead of coming to the army, because unless until you come from a short service commission, you become a second lieutenant, then you have to become lieutenant, then captain, then major. So by that time you will become old and you will not achieve anything very significant, something like that. So that point of time, the option left for me was the chartered accountancy. That also, I think father asked me to do that, but I was not having, frankly speaking, any idea about what is chartered accountancy. So father asked me to do that. I simply followed whatever he has ordered me to do that. That's how it is. Started the journey.
Considering that both CA, CS are very tough professional courses, and at that time and now also the pass percentage is very low and heavy dropouts are there, how confident you were when you started your course that you will be able to crack the exam, and was it a cakewalk for you or you struggled like many students?
See, in fact, when I joined for my chartered accountancy articleship, in those days getting articleship seat itself was very, very difficult, Even for that, we were to use influence, and one of our father's friend was having a contact with a chartered accountant. He agreed that, okay, I will take you as an article trainee, but I will have a seat after 6 months only, not before that. So if you want, you can come and join, and especially you came from South. I was not having any kind of I could have read Hindi, and I could what's called as write Hindi because of the second language concept, but I was not able to speak Hindi. So he said, why can't you join us, and then in the meantime you can get familiarized with the articleship and other things. So I joined there. So in the process I lost 6 months. Second thing what happened was, in those days we were to complete 1 year of articleship before you sit for the exams. My articleship was started in the month of January. So because of that, to the next May exams, I could not have appeared for the exam. So 1.5 years lost. So that means after I joined for my articleship for 2 years, I could not appear for any exam. So one of my friend who was doing the articleship, he suggested me, why you are wasting your time? Why can't you join for company secretaryship? Then that's how I came to know what is the company secretaryship. Then I asked my father, I want to join for this, but he said that, look, chartered accountancy itself is very difficult. You joined here, first you complete this, then we will think about the other thing. Despite my request, somehow he has not budged, and he said, okay, you clear at least intermediate, then I will allow you to join for company secretaryship. Fortunately, I could pass out the first group of the company, because I could appear only for one group. I appeared, passed the exam, so father got some kind of a confidence and he allowed me to join for company secretaryship. As far as my company secretaries are concerned, I appeared for 5 groups, 5 attempts. So within 2.5 years, I have become a company secretary. That I can say as a cakewalk for me. Might be because the chartered accountancy is the struggle, whatever I was having there. Because chartered accountancy is much tougher than company secretaryship, because the pass percentage used to be 2%, 3% like that. So might be this helped me there. But at the same point of time, I qualified my company secretaryship in 84 July and chartered accountancy in 85 January. More or less simultaneously, I passed out both the exams.
So I remember we both went to a municipal school in Vijayawada, that is I think CVR, Chunduru Venkatreddy Municipal School. I still remember that in each class we used to have more than 100, 150 students sitting on the floor, asbestos top, and it was a very, very modest, beginning. So did that modest beginning in a municipal school, that too in a Telugu medium, did it prove disadvantages to you when you moved to do the professional courses in Delhi?
Yeah, it was in fact, it has turned out to be a great disadvantage for me, because number one, being a South Indian, we are very conservative. I won't call it as a timid nature, but used to be like that only, more or less. And our father used to also not giving us much of a freedom. He used to be very passionately loved his children. So he used to always guide us everywhere, hand-holding was there. Because of that hand-holding, we are not seeing the world as such, number one. And all of a sudden I have been left in the chartered accountancy where there is no spoon feeding. You have to know the client's address will be given to you. You have to go to the client's office and start doing whatever the assignment given to you. Which bus will go there, whether you have to take a bus, auto rickshaw, car, whatever it is, that is up to you. And my main problem was I was not able to speak Hindi. And fluency in English was not there because we are from the interior part of Andhra. The fluency was not there in English, and Hindi is concerned, I was not able to speak at all. But fortunately, by God's grace, I can say that in the 3rd month of my articleship, I was hit below the belt by one of the co-article who was a senior person. And he hit me below the belt, in fact, by dropping me from one of the audit. In those days, we used to have one audit, National Textile Corporation, NTC Limited. And going for a government audit, it used to be a prestigious one for any CA article. The audit was for about 1.5 months. I have been told that I have selected as a part of the team. 5 people were there, led by one senior. And I came home, I was this virtually 7th cloud, and I told parents that I'm going for the audit like this. In the 3rd month itself, I got the opportunity. But one day before we were leaving for the audit, I have been told that by another colleague of mine that I have been dropped from this audit and the audit team has already left. When I asked for the reason, I have been told that the senior person, who was the team lead, he told the principal that, the chartered accountant under whom we were taking the training. In those days, we used to call them as principals. So he told the principal that Sudhakar doesn't know Hindi and he can speak a bit of English, but I can't speak English. Because of that, there will be a lot of communication gap. I don't want him as a part of my team. That's how he has dropped. And he took another Punjabi boy who joined just 1 week before that only. And being a South Indian, normally we take these kind of things very close to the heart. I felt humiliated, I felt insulted, and I was virtually not knowing what to do. Immediately I called my principal, I told him I want to come and meet you. I went to him, I told him that this is not the fair way. I have to be treated like this because of my communication barrier, for whatever the reasons it is. But I told him one thing, and I threw a challenge that because of my weakness of the communication, I have been dropped from this audit. I'm throwing a challenge that within 30 days, I will learn Hindi and I will speak with all of you in Hindi only. I will be giving 1 year opportunity to that fellow and let him learn English and speak to me. So in this way, that what happened was I have thrown a challenge that I will learn in 30 days. But the problem is when I came home, I thought that how to learn Hindi in 30 days. Though of course in those days this Balaji publication books used to be there, learn the language in 30 days. But those are all useless books. But I laid down a path for myself. I used to started listening. In those days we used to have a Hawa Mahal program in the All India Radio. So I used to listen every day, that 9:15 to 9:45 in the night, that Hawa Mahal. And whatever the words I was not able to understand, I used to write down that. And one of my colleagues, Anil Kumar Pandey, who was there from UP, he was also doing articleship with me. I told that Pandey fellow, "Arey yaar, I will give you 5 rupees. I'll speak with you in Hindi. Don't make fun of me, don't mock me. But correct me wherever I'm speaking wrong, and you have to teach me that Hindi." There was an office boy, I told him I will give you 2 rupees. In those days, 2 rupees itself is a big money. That's what I'm talking about in the early 80s. So he also agreed. I told him the same thing, I'll speak with you in Hindi, please correct me. So these were my 2 gurus, I can say. Apart from this thing, I thought that let me watch one movie. So if I watch Hindi movies, different movies, I may not be able to learn it. So I thought I will watch one movie only every Saturday, Sunday. So near to our house in R.K. Puram, we were having one movie, Amar Akbar Anthony. And this movie, I watched it 1 month, 8 times. Every Saturday, Sunday, 12 noon. The noon show at 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I used to watch that. People used to go for the sake of entertainment. I used to go for the purpose of education. I used to watch that what sort of words they were speaking, the vocabulary, the modulation in the voice, the way they were speaking, the dialogues and everything. That is how, again, same thing, whatever the words I was not knowing in the darkness, in that auditorium itself, I used to write down. Next day morning, go to that Pandey fellow and ask him. That's how within 30 days, I could get some kind of a command in Hindi. This, in fact, in this episode, I told it several times to the other participants, who were having the same weakness as I was having at one point of time. And in those days, there was one more senior of mine, Prithviraj Anand Bijlani. He told me very funny way that, "Sudhakar, I came to know that you thrown a challenge to the boss like this. How far you could learn Hindi?" That was only hardly 2 weeks. I said, "I am on the way, I am on the right track." He said, "I will give you 2 hints. Normally, whenever we think something, we always think in our mother tongue. So it is better, now when you are learning Hindi, whatever you are thinking also, think in Hindi only." That's a good hint, I got it. That's what I started in front of you. Another thing he also said is that if you want to have a good command on Hindi, you should know the gali galoch of Hindi also. That what was the abusive language also, you should know it. And especially if you want to survive in Delhi, you should know that street smartness. You have to become aggressive, get that aggression. If you remember in that Amar Akbar Anthony movie, that Amitabh Bachchan used to have that aggression in him. So somehow I was, as I told you that, I was, see, when your communication was so weak, your morale will be so low. So my morale was low. I was not having proper guidance. I was to guide myself. I can't discuss this with father in those days about all these things. So I was having my own way of grooming myself. In this process, he told me to learn. I said, "Bhai, who will teach me gali galoch?" He said, "I am there to teach you that." So when I went with an audit for him with about 4-5 days, he virtually taught me Ma Behan ki language and all those things he told me. That's how I could learn it. But by 30 days, I went to my boss and told him, "Sir, 30 दिन पहले मैंने आपको एक challenge दिया था that मैं हिंदी सीख के आपसे हिंदी में बात करता हूँ and today I am going to speak with you in Hindi. You want to know what is Lokpat Gamini? He said, what? I said, you want to know what is Lokpat Gamini? He said, what is Lokpat Gamini? I said, engine. Engine is called as Lokpat Gamini. To that extent, I could learn Hindi. So when I am telling that, the participants, please understand one thing, that if any kind of challenges you face, the two major assets with me I was having was, one is discipline and second is determination. So you have to have these two things. The moment you have that, see, my determination of learning that language helped me a lot, and from there, of course, I could understand that for a professional, if you work out the SWOT analysis at that point of time, my greatest of the greatest weakness was my communication. So then I decided one thing, that I will convert my weakness into my strength. That's how I could do that. And today, if anybody asks me, what is your strength? That's what analysis. I will say my communication is my strength. That's how it was my challenge. It's a great challenge for me in those days.
That's great. So that is very interesting, Mr. Sudhakar. Can you say confidently that young aspirants from background who have not done their education in English convents can crack these professional courses and make it big in the profession? And what message you want to give to students from the rural and background who have done their graduation and earlier education in regional languages can also be equally successful in these tough professions?
See, first of all, my suggestion to all the people is that whether you have a rural background or whatever the background, if you choose this company secretaryship course, first of all, understand that because somebody is doing it and because of that you want to do, don't do like that. First of all, understand the course and then join it. Once you join, for whatever the reasons it is, be passionate about that. Any course, whether it is chartered accountancy, whether it is company secretaryship, with one degree itself, people have done miracles. Several times I have been asked this question, whether company secretaryship is sufficient, or I have to do chartered accountancy, I have to do lawyer, LLB, all these things. My answer to that is always one. Whether you have AK-47 or whether you have a table knife, it is immaterial. Because the weapon will never fetch you the victory. It is the person behind the weapon who operates it. It is more important. So if I have AK-47 but I am not trying to operate that, I don't know which side the barrel is there, which side the trigger is there. I may put the barrel towards me and may press the trigger and harm myself. Has it got the table knife, I know it how to use that. So same is the case here also. It is immaterial that whatever the degree you have. So with company secretaryship degree itself, people have done wonders. Say, as you know that I am a chartered accountant and company secretary myself, but in the last 2 decades, I have chosen to work as a company secretary. And in Reliance, even my boss, Mr. Seturaman, he also is a chartered accountant and company secretary. He also opted to work as a company secretary. And we have about 6 to 7 people in my department in Reliance who are all chartered accountant company secretaries and have opted for company secretaries, though they are chartered accountants themselves. So, according to me, this profession has a bright future, and I always say that this is the only profession which give you an opportunity to step into the boardroom from day one. No other profession will give you this opportunity. If I am a chartered accountant, sometimes in my lifetime, I may not even see the boardroom. Whereas if you are the company secretary, right from day one, you will step into the boardroom, you can rub shoulders with the directors and the KMPs and all other senior managerial persons. Now it is up to you how you will establish yourself, and sky is the limit for you.
Can you share the initial stages of your career? How long it took you to settle down in the profession? And everybody has, a very slippery start to begin with. So how was your start to the profession, and how much of time it took you to settle down in the profession and become confident?
See, in my case, as I told you, because of my articleship and bad experience, so at every stage I was very proactive and I was having a clear-cut path for myself. My vision was very clear when I became a member of both the institutes. I thought to the extent possible, I will handle both the professions simultaneously. This what exactly I did up to the year 2005. Wherever I joined, I handled both finance, accounts and legal secretarial also. The second thing is that, in fact, in 1985 when I qualified, I attended one seminar in FICCI auditorium. in that FICCI auditorium, one Mr. Chowkar, he was working with ICICI, which was a financial institution at that point of time. He was a general manager ICICI and he was delivering a lecture. I was the participant in FICCI auditorium. So when he was delivering the lecture, I used to watch him. He was virtually dancing on the floor. The kind of command what he got on the subject, the kind of vocabulary, the kind of diction, the way he was delivering the lecture, he was mesmerizing everyone. So I thought that I have to become a person like this. I want to become a good public speaker on the subject, So that was one of my vision point. Second thing is, I also read somewhere that ultimately any professional have to have a clear vision. So what I did was, at that time itself, I made a target for myself, either as a chartered accountant or as a company secretary. I want to become the professional. I don't want to become a professional. There is a difference between a professional and the professional. So my vision was very clear. By the time I had my boots, I have to count as the 100 top professionals of India. So to a large extent, I have reached this thing at this point of time. As a company secretary, I am well known, but I look at every stage of my life, I worked very, very hard to achieve this particular thing. So having a vision itself is not sufficient. You need to have a clear road path. There will be several hardships will be there. You have to put your hard work for that. And ultimately, you can achieve whatever you want to have it.
Okay. Generally, professionals who have multi-qualifications, especially CA, CS, prefer to go to finance function as it is perceived to be more powerful than any other functions, including company secretary function. But in your case, you started your career both in finance and secretarial function. But later on joining Reliance, you are completely shifted to corporate secretarial. Is it due to your liking of company law and secretarial practices, or any other reason?
See, one of the things for me that, even if you have 2-3 children, always one child will be very close to you, and that doesn't mean you will not having liking for the other children. So same is the case with me also when I am having that CS. Company secretaryship, always I am having a what's called as soft corner or a affection or a passion for that profession. One of the reason might be when I was a student, I used to sit in the CS Institute library, both for my CA exams as well as for my CS exams, because in CA Institute library to get a seat was next to impossible. Whereas in Company Secretary Institute, I used to get that. So I used to hang around the CS Institute library more often, Actually for about 5 years or so, while I was doing my CS, I did that. Because of that, my network with company secretaries was much more than with the CA Institute. Similarly, even my interaction with the CS Institute officials was also more. So because of that, might be my affinity towards this profession was a bit more than the other profession, number one. Number two, as I told you that up to 2005, wherever the company I joined, I always joined as a company secretary. I don't know for what the reason it is. But ultimately, within 1 year, I was ending up handling both finance and secretarial also. Same thing happened when I was working for Berger Paints also. I joined as a company secretary who was supposed to handle the legal and secretarial. There we used to have some legal activities also. But ultimately when the CFO of the company resigned, I have been asked to have to take over that also. I was virtually compelled to do that. But by the time when we came to 2003, it was becoming immensely difficult for one person to handle both the portfolios simultaneously. The heat was so much, every day I used to reach home at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the night with severe headaches and all those things. Then I thought that I have to give up one portfolio. I have to choose either finance or the secretarial side. So then ultimately I thought that whichever the opportunity comes to me first, I will opt for that. It so happened that in Reliance they were looking, in 2005 when the brothers got separated, they were looking for a person with my profile, with my qualifications, experience and all. And when I appeared for the interview, that they liked me so much, on the very same day they have given me the appointment letter also, so that I will not miss out. Normally, very rarely it happens in Reliance that the same day they give the letter to the person concerned when they select. But it happened with me. And rest is history, and I really enjoyed working with Reliance for about 18 years.
So you worked both in Delhi and Mumbai. First you worked for 2 decades in Delhi, and Mumbai is always considered, Mumbai professionals are considered to be more professional than Delhi, which of course I too watch because I had a lot of exposure with the merchant bankers of Mumbai and other people. So did you find any marked difference in the professionalism in Delhi and Mumbai? And if there is difference, how did you manage to bridge that gap?
See, definitely the Mumbai, not only the professionalism, even the common citizens also. Because without any kind of regulation, whether it is personal regulation, whether it is corporate regulations, and without regulation, Mumbai cannot operate. Because it is a small place in comparison to Delhi, whereas densely populated area. So because of that, when you go to the railway station, when you go to the bus stands and all, people regulate themselves. To a large extent, they regulate themselves because they know that they have to travel far off places and all. Say for example, in Delhi, if you go to a seminar, you go to a study circle meeting, after the meeting is over for about 1.5 hours, people hang around and then say, aur kiyale, you know, that kind of stuff. Whereas in Bombay, the moment the vote of thanks is done, within next 5 minutes, people will disappear. Nobody will be there. Either they will go back to their offices or they will go back to the home and all. So professionalism is concerned not only in the corporates, but everywhere. Say for example, you engage a carpenter. That fellow, if he charge 100 rupees, he will give the value to you. Very rarely you will find that that fellow has cheated me, which is not the case with all due regards to Delhi. That's how it is.
Now coming to the major turn in your professional career from a mid-sized companies to jumping head-on into ocean like Reliance Industries. So everything in Reliance is any company multiplied by 100 times or more than that. So are you overawed by the sheer magnitude of operations of Reliance to begin with, and how much time it took you to adjust yourself to the Reliance way of working in a mega scales?
I can say that it took me almost 5 years, because when I joined Reliance, it was entirely a different ball game. The way I was reading Companies Act prior to 2005 and the way I started reading Companies Act post 2005, it is hell of a difference. Every company you have to ensure compliances, but ensuring compliances with Reliance is entirely different, because it is such a big company. Entire, the country is looking towards you, regulators are looking towards you. Any kind of slip up will be viewed with a magnifying glass, and the social media is also becoming stronger and stronger at that point of time. So you cannot afford it. So in Reliance, we have checks and balances at a very, very extensive levels, I can say. If a communication is to be given to the stock exchanges, I have to have 5 layers of approvals which I have to take. Whereas in merger paints, when I was working, I was the person just have one approval from my chairman, that's it. Otherwise, I don't need anybody else's approval. Whereas, which is not the case in Reliance. And I was surprised that for such a small intimation to be given to the stock exchanges, that why I require that kind of approvals. Subsequently, I realized that yes, in such a big company it is there. If one person decides, which is going to impact entire organization, and it is not the case with Secretarial department, it is the case with every department. The CFO will examine the letter from his perception. The executive assistant to the Mukesh Bhai will view it into a different perception. Like that, it will be there. So the checks and balances are very thorough. Now, as far as the other things are concerned, to work in Reliance, especially in the year 2005 to 2012, the first 7 years, I felt that you have to have steel nerves, because you have to. I used to enter office around 10:30. That was my office timing at that point of time. And we used to leave office around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the night. By the time I reached home, it was 12 o'clock. And in Reliance, people used to say that most of the senior officials reach home and the date change. Then only they will reach home. So after that, I used to have my dinner. Then I have to ensure that at least half an hour to 45 minutes before I sleep. I have to sleep before I have to get up early again. I have to go to the office. and 2 hours on an average to go, 2 hours on an average to come back. So 4 to 5 hours I used to be on the road. Another major thing happened was when the brothers got separated, and half of the department has gone to that side and half of the department has come this side. And in this process, several people left the company also. So the department, what the size was there, about 60% of attrition was there at that point of time. I was not having some enough support, but I was expected to do the things. On the other side, the demerger was going, okay, that Reliance got merged into 4 other resulting companies. And if people were not very willing to join this kind of culture, because long working hours were there. It was a 6-day week. Normally people used to prefer 5-day week. We were having 6-day week, 24/7 job. There were a lot of difficulties. So what I did was, when I was not getting good resources from the outside, I thought that let me take the management trainees, groom them up the way we want. That's what exactly I did, and I could succeed to a large extent in building up the department. That we have taken about 15 to 20 management trainees. So I used to groom them up. I used to spend every Friday, I said 3 hours. In fact, right from the time I joined, even till date also, it might be happening there after my superannuation also. Every Friday, the trainees have to meet for 3 hours. 1.5 hours they have to discuss about the subject, and 1.5 hours I used to go and share my experiences with them, how I want them to get trained, all those things. So because of that, by the time they complete their training, I used to ensure that they got an experience of 2.5 years in comparison to the market, the company secretary who is having it. Because the exposure in Reliance, what you get is immense. I don't think you will get anywhere in the world, whether it is finance department, whether it is secretarial, legal, operational, business, anything you take it. Because the volume used to be so much. Say for example, the OFCDs or your CCDs, issue of securities, different type of securities, what kind of forms you have to file. My trainees used to handle this left, right, center every day virtually, Whereas some company secretaries in their lifetime even may not get that kind of an opportunity. But all these things require, number one, a strong determination, a strong will to work that long hours. At the same point of time, to withstand the pressure will be very high in Reliance, and especially these days it is still much better. But in those days, when the separation took place, for first 4 to 5 years, it used to be tremendous. You will be asked to do something tomorrow, but you were supposed to deliver yesterday. That kind of a culture we used to have. In fact, in Reliance, we used to say in those days that either we have Shanti or Kranti. Kranti is 99% of the time, Shanti is only 1% of the time. That's what we used to have. At one point of time, it has come to my mind, why can't I go back to Delhi? But I thought that because of the never ever one has to accept that because of the work pressure, because of these kind of issues, one should not go back. So somehow I could withstand that pressure, but after that 2012 onwards, slightly the things got relaxed, because we also had that 5-day week culture, we got it. One good thing with Reliance is that on Saturdays, Sundays, very rarely they will disturb you. They know that 5 days you have already contributed, you need to recharge your battery, might be. So that 2 days relaxation has been given to you. So that's how it is.
Mr. Sudhakar, I understand that the work schedules in Reliance are neck-breaking and the guys always run against the time, and you are kept on toes for 14 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. What really drives the employees of Reliance like you to carry on without complaining and cribbing?
See, I can say that 25 to 30% of the people these days, they continue with the same company. But what drives you is nothing but passion. If a person really wants to prove himself, they can do it. So, in fact, that as far as the good olden days employees are concerned, Dhirubhai's charisma used to be there. Even if you go to our refinery, sometimes I used to say that, especially the army personnel, if you touch any army personnel, the amount of passion what he shows towards the what's called as to the segment of what he belongs to, or to that core what he belongs to. So same is the case with Reliance also. People give you innumerable number of stories, where they work and how they work and how Dhirubhai treated them and all those things. And same is the case with my case also. Say for example, In fact, I mean, whenever we have been invited to Mukesh Bhai's house for that Diwali dinner, he make it a point, both Mrs. and Mr. Ambani, is that they receive each and every official, they receive each and every guest at the gate itself, and they give posts with the photographs and all. So these kind of gestures, that will give you. In addition to that, no doubt about it, when you say outside world that I work for Reliance, there is a pride you will take it, okay, bhai, you are also contributing. I mean, in fact, that you might be knowing that Dhirubhai used to say that what is good for the country is good for Reliance, and what is good for Reliance is good for the country. So same is the case, we used to also think what is good for Reliance is good for the employee also, So most of the people work there not for the salary, not for the remuneration, but with a passion.
Well, that is very important, because I always feel that I'll keep telling my juniors also, one should take pride in the company where they work. And that I have seen in escorts. I worked in many companies, but escort is an exception, where not only the present generation, the father and grandfather also worked in escorts. Escorts in Faridabad in 70s and 80s was the only company in North India, and it used to be like a government employment. So people have worked for 40 years, his son has joined, after that even grandson has joined. They used to talk so passionately about senior Nanda, HV Nanda. So that is a great thing to know. Reliance is a highly compliance oriented company and can ill afford to be caught on the wrong foot, as you say that the entire world is looking at them. What is the approach taken by you and your departmental colleagues and other professionals to ensure such high degree of compliances?
See, number one, as far as I am concerned, I used to be the number 2 position after my boss there, and I was responsible for about a team of, initially to start with, we used to have about 40-50 people. By the time I left, it was about 100 plus. About 65 qualified secretaries used to be there, and about 35 management trainees used to be there. Of course, after when we started the telecommunication, that vertical, Reliance retail vertical, some senior people at the middle level have been taken. They used to handle those things, but so slightly the pressure was reduced. But prior to that, most of the times I used to handle everything. So we used to have our own checks and balances everywhere. In addition to that, when I joined in Reliance, in fact, I was surprised to know that it was a good, this thing also is that we used to have an internal audit department within Secretarial department. That means we used to have about 7 to 8 people led by a very senior person. They pre-audit each and every form what we are filing with the ROC. That means there was a concurrent audit was there. You cannot simply file the form with the ROC without getting pre-scrutinized by this department. In addition to that, though the secretarial audit concept has come much later in the Companies Act 2013, we used to have secretarial audit in those days. This department used to pick up some important companies. Some 2-3 years the records they used to pick up, and they used to do a kind of secretarial audit, and they used to give us a report. What are the what's called as non-compliances taken place, or what are the errors have taken place, so that the corrective action can be taken, and proactively we can ensure that in future similar things should not happen. Another good thing what we used to have in Reliance is for every process we used to have a checklist. Say for example, any corporate action you are coming with, we used to have a checklist that from day one, what are all the activities involved in that. Number 2, who is responsible to do what, and third is the timelines. So with that, what happens is for a senior person to monitor that, it becomes very easy. Post Companies Act 2013, when it has come, even for the companies where we don't require secretarial audit, still for the important and big size companies, we used to have voluntary secretarial audit, which is still prevailing there. So this is how we used to control the department.
Now coming to your board meetings of Reliance, you might have faced Mukesh Ambani and the star-studded board of Reliance and its subsidiaries. And how did you prepare for such huge task of facing such star-studded board and the large number of shareholders? And did you face any challenges in preparing yourself for that?
See, in fact, in the board meeting also, that whenever we have to, we used to have a pre-calendar. That means in the beginning, in the year beginning itself, we are having that next financial year, what are the dates, tentative dates for the board meetings. So we know that these are the dates for the board meeting. So the reverse calculation we used to do it, and about 40 minutes before for the board meeting the process used to start. First I used to send a mail to all the HODs that we are tentatively having a board meeting on this particular date, and in case any board approvals are required, if anything is there, please give me a board note as well as the resolution they want. See, we used to ask the persons to give us the resolution, though they don't know how to draft a resolution, but we want that wording, what they want to use it there. So once that person gives me, based on that, we used to start preparing the agenda. Second thing is that whenever you put up any item to the board, it is the company secretary or his department should understand and have to have full backup papers with you. That means you have to take the ownership. You cannot say that, son, look, I don't know anything, I am simply prepared the agenda and I have given it to you. No. All the directors look towards the company secretary or sometimes to the CFO that what exactly is this. So if anybody requires any information, they have to pick up the phone and ask the secretarial department, not any other department. So you have to take the full ownership for the agenda, what you are circulating to the directors, for which you need to have understand. Say for example, at one point of time, I remember that we were planning to buy one aircraft for Reliance. So that is a Bombardier, some number was there and all, we were buying that aircraft. So that point of time, you have to be proactive. What kind of questions the director may ask you. So my boss told me, Sudhakar, how many aircrafts we have? I was having no clue about that. He said, look, you have to know that. Suppose tomorrow a director may say that, how many aircrafts we have, what sort of aircrafts we have, why we are buying this aircraft, what is the reason for that. So then I learned that, yes, any point of time you are putting up any agenda item to the board, you have to have the backward integration, similarly forward integration, what it was, what it is and what it will be. This is how you have to do it. So most of the times the person who works for Reliance, he has to be agile, he has to be diligent enough, he has to be vigilant enough, and he should not be negligent. I always used to say that whenever I teach to the independent directors, the independent director cannot be negligent. He has to be diligent, he has to be vigilant. And same is the case with as a KMP, it was equally applicable to company secretaries also, that we have to be diligent and vigilant. This is what the mantra we used to have before entering into the boardroom.
Over a period of time, you have become like an encyclopedia of company law, and it's not an exaggeration. Whenever such any amendments happen, people who are holding very senior positions anywhere in India, instead of going through the circulars and other things, prefer to pick up the phone and first take a clarification from you. So how do you explain your love for company law so much, and to what extent working in Reliance has helped to hone your skills in mastering company law?
See, it was not like that I'm an encyclopedia. There are so many other professionals are also there. But yes, no doubt about it, to a reasonable extent and to a good extent, I could gain some command on the subject. One of the reasons for that is that working for Reliance, as I told you, the way I was, see, Companies Act, I was reading right from the time I was in my higher secondary. But till the time 2005, the way I was reading Companies Act, and post 2005 I was reading the Companies Act, was entirely different. And when Companies Bill 2012 was placed before the Parliament, that time somehow we got the idea that this time it is going to pass. Because as you know that Companies 1956 was to be rehashed, and somewhere 93 they started that process, and till 2012 nothing happened, and everybody was thinking that this act has become a jinx, it will never see the daylight. But to 2012 when they placed it, it somehow got given as an idea that this is going to become an act. So what we did was, for about 15-16 days, in my department we used to have that 10 to 6 every day. We have to dissect each and every section, each and every rule of the company. Of course, that time the rules were not ready, only the act was there. Rules came much later, in fact. And so we used to dissect each and every section. In fact, some company secretaries who came to know about it, they requested us, we will also join you while you are discussing that. So 2012, when the bill was placed and we have dissected like that, we understand that suppose when I am implementing that, what kind of difficulties we will have, what kind of changes we have to make in the existing policies, whether similarly what kind of changes in the terms of reference what we have given to the existing committees at that point of time. What are the action points are there, how that action points, if any difficulties are there, because we have to brief the management also, we have to brief our seniors, we have to brief our board, we have to brief Mukesh Bhai himself, so many things were there. So then, because that particular time when we were doing that, I was the person who was leading the show. So in that process, because prior to that Companies Act we read, as a student I read, as a professional I read for the exams, but I never read Companies Act 1956 as a whole, right from section 2 to section 600 plus sections were there. Whereas in case of Companies Act 2013, I got that opportunity to read section 2 onwards up to section 470 plus. Might be that is one of the reasons it has given me a good command on the subject. At the same point of time, by the time the Companies Act was enforced, we were already there with everything ready in our hands. So we haven't faced any kind of difficulty. So people know that, this is what has happened with Reliance. And they used to call me. In fact, let me also share with you and as well as the people who are watching this show. E-voting for the first time was introduced in the Companies Act 2013. So e-voting, what happened till such time, what used to happen was only the people who can attend the AGMs. They used to cast the vote on show of hands, or wherever the poll was demanded or poll was mandatory, we used to have the conventional poll, dropping the ballot papers in that ballot box and all. For the first time, the concept of e-voting was introduced in Companies Act 2013. So when we went to Mukesh Bhai to brief him about the e-voting concept, and we said that, sir, despite the fact that e-voting is there, we have to also give the opportunity to the shareholders to cast their vote. Who could not cast in the e-vote, they can come to the meeting and they can cast the vote. So that is to be done by way of a poll, and the conventional poll as usual it will be there. So Mukesh Bhai said that when e-voting is there, why you have to have a conventional poll? Why not an e-poll? And we never heard of what is a e-poll. So we said, okay sir, we will do that. 18 days time I think we have roughly about that. We came back, we called Karvi people. Karvi was our R&D agent, and we called Karvi, and after that we have our IT team. We put our heads together. So ultimately, within the time given, we have to develop that a portal called as InstaPoll. In fact, Karvi is still running that. In InstaPoll, we have prepared that. Ultimately, that program is to be made, that is to be tested, that is to be ensured that on the poll day, there is no technical jargons should happen. Just like your elections time, whenever the electronic voting is there, you cannot afford to have that. At the same point of time, that is one part of it. The second part is that how you will execute that. In the Birla Auditorium, there was no, in Bombay we used to have our AGMs. There was no Wi-Fi connect was there. We want to build up a Wi-Fi connect there. After that, we want to ensure that people who are sitting outside the auditorium, they should not be able to log in and cast the vote. That was another thing which is there. We want to give the iPads or your tablets to the shareholders to cast the vote. How to do that? Suppose if my people will be there, they will do it, or we have to give to the shareholders. If the shareholder take them and run away, what we will do with that? And similarly, procurement of 250 tablets for a company like Reliance was not a difficult job. But getting that tablet charged one day before is a big task for us. We were having the charge bars we have constructed. At one time, 25 to 30 tablets we used to charge it. When I look back, it was a real mammoth exercise. At the same point of time, I have to establish to my seniors that we are fully geared up. We have our dry runs in the auditorium that, okay, suppose whether the Wi-Fi strength, signal strength is there, on that corner if the people are doing it, this corner people are doing it, all the people are doing it simultaneously, whether the Wi-Fi can withstand. There were so many things we have checked it. Ultimately, about 150 to 180 company secretaries from Bombay, they attended the Reliance AGM in 2015 to watch how Reliance is conducting the e-poll. Okay. And because that was the first time it happened, and ours was the first company which has done that. Thereafter, what happened is that ICSI was organizing this thing. From 2005 to 2014, I have not attended any seminars. I have not delivered any lecture except one or two, I think, for the institute. But 2014, virtually I have been requested, compelled, goaded by the institute. Please share your experiences as far as e-voting is concerned. So that was my first lecture after the Companies Act 2013. Then I started receiving the galore of opportunities because there were a lot of issues were there in that. We used to have every day one or the other circulars used to come. Amendment of the rules used to come. Removal of difficulty orders used to be there. In the good olden days, if you read Companies Act, with the textbook was sufficient. Whereas here, apart from the textbook, you have to have the rule book, you have to have the amended rules, you have to have the circulars, you have to have the removal of difficulty orders, whatnot. There should be so much of this thing. So I also thought that maybe the kind of experience what I have gained, why not to share that with this thing. Then after that, I started delivering the lectures across the length and breadth of the country.
That's very interesting. And though we are brothers, we are poles apart in many matters, especially in longevity in a company. I has always been a rolling stone. My average stay was 3 to 4 years, whereas you worked in budget pens for 15 years and about 18 years in Reliance. And especially when you are in Reliance at a vice president level, I'm very sure that you might have been a favorite with the headhunters, and you might have got many prompt offers. So what is the reason that you didn't choose any of them and stuck to Reliance for such long time? Did you superannuated, then of course had a long extensions also post-retirement?
Yeah, I can say that two things. I strongly believe in destiny. Might be I have destined to work for Reliance that long. And similarly, in fact, I always strongly feel that after at a senior level when you join, only after 2 years you will start contributing to the company. At the same point of time, especially in Reliance, that once you cross 50, 55 years of age, and again going to a new company, getting yourself established. So I thought that why not to, because here as far as work is concerned, why you look for a change? Number one, you look for a change for better prospects, maybe monetarily or maybe work-wise. You want to have a good profile. Profile is concerned, no company can offer you more opportunity than Reliance. That I am very sure about it. Might be if I go and join some other company, I would have got a few lakhs more. But after working for a company like Reliance and going for some other company and working there, may not be it is good. So somehow, anyway, as I told you that in my DNA always that might be I am comfortable with that comfort zone kind of thing. That might be one of the reasons. And second thing was also that I always prefer the respect, dignity and the freedom to operate as a professional, which my previous company has given, that was Budget Pens. I used to be a very close interaction with the chairman. He has given me full freedom. He has a full faith in me. He has given me a good amount of respect. In fact, I told this several times, that as a company secretary, if you want to operate, your management has to support you. Your management has to give you the freedom. So if you go and join a management which don't give you this, you have to struggle there. You might be getting a few lakhs more, but that is not the thing what you require. And after it, sometimes the money is not important, but that what your contribution is more important. So in fact, that 80% of the time whenever I appear for the interviews, I used to reject the managements, the prospective employers. 20% of the time they used to reject me. And only 4 times, I think, in my 40 years of corporate life, I could work because the Reliance was my 4th employment. So as you told me, 15 years I was with Budget Pens and 18 years with Reliance. That is a major part. One of the reasons for that is the kind of love and affection and respect and dignity what both these companies have given to me. Of course, with full freedom to operate upon.
You have qualified as a chartered accountant in 1985 or 86, and very long time back. Have you ever felt that had you continued in the finance side, you would have been more successful compared to shifting to corporate secretary when you shifted to Reliance completely?
It may not be. I am not very sure about that. Had I gone to finance, because every person, sometimes I feel that I read somewhere, some people are comfortable with the alphabets and some people are comfortable with the numericals. Maybe in my case I am more comfortable with alphabets than of numericals. So that's why I always preferred Companies Act, the legal part rather than the financial part. But as I told you, that not necessarily a person who handle finance he will be successful. The persons who have handled, and especially post Companies Act 2013, this demarcation has gone to a large extent. Company secretaries are more in demand. Company secretaries are most sought after, provided you are able to prove your mettle. Unfortunately, with all due regards, I want to tell my fraternity colleagues that the way the company secretaries have to gear up for the amount of importance the regulators are giving to our profession, it is not happening to a large extent. Because if you see the Companies Act, the Companies Act has recognized the profession of company secretaries. After the CEO and CFO, it is the company secretary who is the key managerial person, irrespective of your position in the organizational hierarchy. At the same point of time, if you see the listing regulations, SEBI listing regulations, they have a senior managerial personnel concept where they have defined that who are the senior managerial personnel. They said one level below the board. Now, of course, it is 2 levels below the board. All the functional heads are to be the senior managerial personnel, including the CFO and the company secretary. Means what? Even if you are not treated as a functional head, even if you are not a senior managerial person in the hierarchy, but company secretary is a part of the senior managerial person. So regulator has recognized the profession as a very significant, important position. Now it is up. Similarly, they have also recognized the secretarial audit. Under the listing regulations, company secretary certifications are also equally there. Now the only thing is we have to prove our mettle to both the regulators as well as to the corporates also by that yes, we can also deliver it. To a large extent, now the profession is accepted. We have reached it to such an extent. According to me, next 10 to 15 years, our profession is going to have a golden time, provided we can gear up for that. For that, only mantra is nothing but your hard work. Apart from that, you have to acquire good knowledge. Why I say this thing is with full amount of responsibility that being a member of the Secretarial Standard Board, right from 2016 till date, I know that with what kind of difficulties we used to bring these Secretarial Standards, the guidance note. Apart from, we have 4 guidance notes. Okay, one is on related party transactions, independent directors, corporate social responsibility, insider trading regulations. And whenever I deliver lectures on these subjects, when I ask the participants, have you read the guidance notes? The response was, in fact, with all due regards, let me say that it is pathetic. So wherever I go, I advocate that please do the guidance, read the guidance notes, read the secretarial standards. And now the way the regulatory activism is there, they are penalizing even the private limited companies for such a small trivial issues. The company secretaries cannot afford with a layback attitude, and the way I was operating yesterday, I will operate it today as well as I will operate it tomorrow, then we will be in difficulty. But if you can gear up, if you can have a good knowledge and all, sky is the limit for you.
Yeah, interesting. Now coming to the other facet of you, you are as popular as a professional in the company as your contributions to the profession, and you addressed hundreds of seminars and served the ICS Institute at NIRC level and at the Central Council level, and held various positions heading the committees also for many years. So what is the motivation behind it, and how do you manage time for doing all these things despite the sort of work schedules you used to have in Reliance?
See, I used to, in fact in Reliance, we always used to say, nobody appreciate if you say that I don't have time. One of the things I have registered in my mindset that I never use the word I don't have time. When Mukesh Ambani also got 24 hours of time and we also got 24 hours of time. In Reliance, we used to always think, when he can do, why can't I? Mukesh Bhai is a movie buff, everybody knows that. Every day he watches one movie before he sleeps, despite of his hectic schedules. He go to the what's called the functions. He also go the official functions, private functions, IPL matches, everywhere he is there. But despite that, he used to be a tough taskmaster, and he knows that minutest details he go into it. It's not like that he's scratching the surface. And the kind of conglomerate what he is managing it, operating it hands-on. At that age, what we are doing, nothing according to me. So before with this kind of a thing, when in fact recently in some of the forums people started asking me, sir, you are interested in so many seminars and all, working for Reliance also, you have that you are having such a free time. I used to say that I never had a free time, because when I was working in Reliance, I have never prepared any presentation in my office time. I used to be a very principled person. When Companies Act 2013 and Listing Regulations 2015 were enforced, in fact, listing regulations also the same way we have geared up that to meet that implementation part. So same case, in fact, BSc together with ICSI has almost organized about 12 what's called seminars across the country. Out of that 8 out of the 12, I was associated with these seminars. So around that time I was also having a severe pressure for the time. So I thought that I have to take the time from somewhere. From where you will take it out? So I used to get up at 6:30 in the morning. From that time I started getting up at 4 o'clock. Till date I get up at 4 o'clock, and the first 2 hours up from 4 to 6 I put it always for my whether to prepare a presentation, whether to read the circulars, whether to upgrade my knowledge. This is what I used to do it. So from 14 to 23, almost for 9 years, you say every day I am getting 2 hours. Per month I am getting 6 hours, 60 hours. Per year I am getting 720 hours. Just imagine how many days I am getting it. About 35 days extra in a year I am getting it. So 35 into 9, how many years of time I got it extra. So this is how I could do it myself. And same is the case as far as my institute activities are concerned. From SSB is not a small thing. You have to spend a lot of time for that. I was in the vision committee, vision implementation committee, same is the case. You have to sit with the ICSI officials, you have to understand their difficulties, you have to see the professional difficulties. All these things require a lot of time. Only the driving point for that is nothing but passion. Only that was driving me all these things. At the same point of time, you require, of course, your family support. Of course, I never had organizational support. Normally, sometimes, when you have to do it, you require organizational support, but we don't have that kind of an organizational support, neither in the previous company nor with Reliance. But definitely, family support is required. My family has fully supported me for that.
That is actually very, very important. I was about to say that. In fact, as you know that I also contributed a little bit in NIRC and Central Council. But in all the companies I worked, I think more than 60-70% of the companies used to say big no. They used to say, why you have to go and address a seminar for company secretary, students and other people during the office hours. The office hours are for office.
Yeah.
And secondly, one of my chairperson is to very funnily say, Prabhakar, you are a company secretary with over 25 years experience. I said, I'm going to seminar, not address, but to listen. Why you need? So people have, especially in Delhi, the promoters have.
In fact, my previous promoter used to say it is a paid holiday. He used to say like that. Similarly, let me also say that I used to also take SMTP lectures when I was in Delhi. So these SMTP lectures used to happen in Prasad Nagar Industrial, that office, NIRC office building. I used to stay in Mayur Vihar. From here to there, I think about 20 kilometers was the distance. About 1 hour drive was there. At 10:30 to 1:30 was the session. I used to tell NIRC if I had to take the lecture, ask the students to come at 9 o'clock. So 9 to 12:30 I used to take that. 9 to 12 or something like that. So I used to tell my office that I am going to a bank or I am going to income tax office or something like that. I used to tell a lie. And then I used to go there, deliver the lecture. Without even having a glass of water, I used to jump to my car and then again come to office, because I was reporting to my chairman directly. And in a day, he used to call me at least 6 to 8 times. If I am not there, he used to get agitated. So where you are gone and all those things. So this kind of hard work you have to put. Again, the same thing, only the passion could driving me at that point of time. And that is the reason, in fact, when I was migrating from Delhi to Bombay, in fact, I must proudly say that Institute of NIRC of ICSI has given me a felicitation. You might be remembering that. I was not an elected, called a member, but despite that, I have been given a felicitation wherein 100 plus participants were there. The past presidents were there and some council members were there, and NIRC chairmen were there. So it was a privilege at that point of time.
So as you said that you have to do a lot of sacrifices. I understand that many times you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, then go to the airport, then travel all over India, go to a place as far as Coimbatore or Karnal or Ludhiana, and maybe your lecture time will be just for 2 hours, and by the time you come back it used to be maybe 10, 11 in the night. That means you are sacrificing entire world and a holiday on Sunday, and of course sacrificing on family's time also. So what has really driven you to do this without expecting, more importantly, without expecting anything in return?
See, one of the reason is again the same thing. When I was doing my company secretaryship, at the time of the training, I have seen, because in my because I have done my articleship, I have an idea about what is a corporate. Whereas I have seen my other friends who were merely doing company secretaries, when they joined, in those days we used to have 3 months training, and 7 days with stock exchange and 7 days with ROC, so total 3.5 months. So these trainees were treated like some kind of a parasites, okay, that if you go to the ROC, okay, sign kar deta hu, you don't need to sit here and go back. Same as the case with stock exchange, they never taught us anything. The same point of time in the companies also, the company secretaries used to give them all useless work. In those days, IPOs used to be rampant, or fixed deposits used to be there. Yeah. So the management trainees have been asked to put that forms into the envelopes, go to the what's called as the post office, and then do the dispatch. This kind of work they used to get. I felt really very miserable at that point of time. They were not getting proper guidance. There was nobody who was there to guide them, to mentor them. So that time I took a vow in my life that we have been deprived of, I will give at least my future generations. I will mentor them wherever possible within my limited ability, whatever I could gain that at that point of time. At different stages I did that. That's how I started delivering these lectures, working for study circles, seminars, conferences, whatever it is. As you rightly said, in 2014 onwards, that especially around that time, fortunately my office had started a 5-day week culture. So every Saturday, Sunday, from 2015, I think 2014 rather, to 2018, for about 3-4 years of time, I never stayed at home on Saturday and Sunday. Every Saturday, Sunday, I used to travel somewhere or the other, and I used to go to as far as Bhiwad, that you are the Bhilwara, or this kind of chapters also, because people say that seniors never used to come to this kind of chapters. So whenever I used to go there, they used to think that somebody, a godly person has come. In fact, several times people used to put me, there was a lot of embarrassment it used to cause me also. The way they used to treat me when I go there, so that kind of respect, dignity, adulation, acclamation, might be that is the driving force for me to do all these things.
Next question is something which always wondered me, with the sort of activities you have done for NIRC, Central Council for such long time, addressing seminars and all over India, that almost every company secretary knows you. Many times actually when I say Prabhakar, they get confused the names, because similar sounding names. Then when I say that I'm Sudhakar's brother, they say immediately connected. So with this popularity and adulation you got from the members, any time had you chosen to contest for the elections, you would have won hands down, and maybe in the regional, then going to central, and honestly I felt that you would have been one of the right candidates to be president of ICSI. So what is the reason that you never thought of contesting elections? Is it that you don't like the electoral way of going to the central council, or so-called, though people don't like to use that word, the politics which go at the council levels?
So it is not like that I don't like politics and all, but whether it is you like politics or not, somebody has to work for the institute. If normally what happens is several times people say that what the bloody institute has done for me. I used to say always what you have done for the institute. Institute is what? Institute is nothing but you and me. Or the secretariat is there only to run the affairs of the institute. That's it. Whereas councils are elected by you and me. If you want to do something good, why can't you come and contest the elections? Or alternately, behind the shows also you can do a lot. I have seen people who joined the committees and all without doing any kind of work. They want just to put that, with all due regards, I want to tell that there are people like that also. They want to join the committees of the institute just to put it in their resumes or biodatas or something like that, which is not good according to me. But of course, there are people without even, because see, organizational support is very much required. In India, I don't think very few organizations might be there who are supporting that. That is the reason actually, even if you see today, hardly out of that 14, 15 candidates of the council, in fact, there might be 1 or 2 candidates from the service sector. From the employment, virtually nobody might be there. If at all anybody is there, really I have to hats off that person with the kind of responsibilities what he is having, and if still he can do. Number one. Number two, if you want to really do something to the institute, not necessarily you have to go into the council. If your organization supports you, by all means you can go there. Otherwise also still you can do a lot many things. This is what I have done at every stage of my life. When I was a 3-year, what's called as an experienced member, and whereas a 30 years experienced member or a 40 years experienced member, different stages of my life, I always served the institute in different capacities, which was liked by the people and has still giving me that kind of opportunities.
So, Mr. Sudhakar, till now we have discussed about your personal life.
In fact, one thing it has come to my mind, as you might be knowing, that when I was in Delhi, I have been elected as the Study Circle Committee Chairman.
Yeah.
Normally, Study Circle Committee is one of the prestigious committees of any regional council, whether it is NIRC, WRC and all. In those days, I remember at Kanchenjunga building, ROC office, initially the Study Circle Committees used to take place. Harish Ved, myself, Mr. Suraj Kapoor, who was the ROC at that time, another 2 members, I don't remember the name. The 5 people who used to meet once in a fortnight have the study circle there. From there we started it. And always there used to be very skeleton people who used to come to the study circles. I have been given one of that opportunity by one Mr. S.V. Goyal, who is of course now working for Reliance only. When he was in Delhi and when he asked me, Sudhakar, why can't you take up this responsibility? I said that, look, I am not an elected member. Unnecessarily political issues will come. People will question why I have been chosen for this at all. He said, I will handle that issues. You don't worry about that. Are you ready? I said, only under one condition, that if I have to be the chairman of the study circle committee, I will operate it, I will run that the way I want to have it. There should not be any kind of influence from the regional council. He agreed for that. And after that, year after year, chairman after the chairman, I think if I am not wrong, for about 10 to 12 years, I have acted as a study circle committee chairman. And I have taken from at one point of time, even 100 plus members used to attend the study circle committee, the study circles.
Yeah. I remember, in fact, when you went to Reliance, I took over from you.
Okay.
At that time, Yogesh was there and then Madan was there.
Right.
So for 2 years I was there. Then incidentally, I shifted to Chandigarh. I remember Madan cut a joke. अरे यार क्या बात है जिसको चेयरमैन बनाता है वो बाहर चला जाता है. First you went to Bombay, then I went to Chandigarh.
Right.
Then I had to leave the chairmanship because I shifted to Chandigarh. So now coming to your personal life, we discussed a lot about your personal life. What are your hobbies? Whatever time left with you, I think it must be very little. What are your hobbies? Music, films, or spending time with family and friends?
See, that when I was in Delhi, I used to have hobbies like I learned music and I did my Art of Living courses. I did my Reiki Master 3 course. I didn't do the Grandmaster. Otherwise, there were 3 levels which I did as far as Reiki is concerned. So, and as you know that I was in NCC for almost about 6-7 years. I was there. And every time, I used to slog unnecessarily, I don't know that, but I used to do it. But when I went to Bombay, everything has gone, no hobby, nothing is there. Except I was to eat Reliance, I was to drink Reliance, I was to sleep Reliance, like that it was there. Post-superannuation also, I thought that I will do lot many things. I will read books, I will watch movies, I will do this, I will do that and all. But even here also what happens is after I joined when I got associated with my present firm, Mehta, we started one corporate training vertical, which is doing quite well. In fact, we are receiving so many opportunities. In fact, people prefer to a large extent to be in physical mode, because of that thing. Again, the same thing had happened now virtually every week. 2-3 days I travel and to train the people, and wherever in fact I go for training also. This founder partner of this firm, Mr. Atul Mehta, he was the past president of the institute, and he said, sir, when you are going there, why can't you also gather some people there and share your knowledge there? That's why we do some events. In fact, I am in Delhi, as you know that yesterday in Gurgaon we were planning for one event which we have cancelled it because of the disturbances at the borders. So this is how I used to do that. So even now also I am doing that. Might be I meant for this thing, even at post-retirement also God requires me to do this, which I am enjoying also that thing.
So for everybody's success, a big role is played by the family, and in your case, as we discussed, your hectic schedules for professional assignments and your passion for public speaking might have taxed heavily on your personal time with the family. So can you just tell us how much of sacrifices and support you got from the family?
I don't say sacrifices, because see what happened was, by the time 2014-15 has come, I have two daughters. My children were grown up, and my elder daughter did her chartered accountancy, and younger one has done her legal this thing from the GLC, Mumbai, Government Law College, Mumbai. So the children were grown up, so to some extent the amount of time what you need to spend with them was not a great amount of time. But when it was required, that point of time, I was with them. And I always feel that every student, every professional has to have their own struggle. The way our father has actually nurtured and nourished us with a close protection, I have not done that mistake. I have given them full exposure, let them take their decisions, let them find out their own jobs. In fact, that Vajna was used to say, why can't you get them a job? I said that, look, I got them good degrees, let them go and struggle, I strongly believe that if a caterpillar has to become a butterfly, it has to undergo the drill of breaking that cocoon before it becomes a beautiful butterfly. In that process, in fact, there is a small story also, one boy, when he was find that caterpillar was breaking that cocoon, he started helping to puncture that particular thing, and it could not fully bloom, that fully got blossomed into that beautiful butterfly, because half the body was in the liquid shape and half it was, it got transformed, and ultimately it died. After that, it could crawl for some time and it died. The same is the case here also. My advice to all the professionals is, you have to undergo the drill, you have to have your own thing. Expect the guidance from your seniors, but don't expect them to get a job or to get a client for you. If you undergo the heavy drill today, means definitely you have a golden future.
Coming to your
and
family,
of course, definitely as far as the other thing is concerned, my family support is very much required also, which I got it in my case.
That's good. Coming to your family, what about your children? Did you guide them to follow your profession, or what are they doing, and what professions they have chosen? Have they chosen on their own, or your guidance was there?
Of course, when they were choosing the profession, definitely my guidance was there. I wished that both of them also to become chartered accountant and company secretaries. And of course, my elder daughter Swati has picked up chartered accountancy. Of course, she now curses me by knowing the difficulties in chartered accountancy. Why you allowed asked me to join this profession? Everybody is lucky by that father's profession. Sometimes you may not like it, you may like it. That is a different thing. But chartered accountancy is a very decently good profession, and even my son-in-law also is a chartered accountant himself. So both are chartered accountants, both know each other's difficulties and all. The younger one, somehow she was not very comfortable. Which I told you, she is not comfortable with the numericals part. So she preferred that she will go with the legal part. So she had joined that 5-year government law college thing, and but somehow she was not willing to join both of them to company secretaries. I got them registered, but they have not pursued that.
Okay.
So both have found their own jobs. I have never helped them in any way. In fact, they have their only thing is, yes, for my second daughter, the legal what's called as a firm, I could got the first placement, and after that she is doing on her own. I never helped them. Yes, guidance I do give it. In fact, guidance I give it to the entire fraternity, not only to my children. I treat all the youngsters as my children only and give my guidance.
That's great. After getting many extensions, last year you took retirement from Reliance Industries. And then when I thought that you will relax and enjoy your retired life, you again taken up consultancy with Mehta and Mehta. So how you are finding the new role of being a consultant and advisor?
See, first and foremost, I never feel that I never use the word retirement. I always use the word superannuation. Because in the retirement, you feel like as if you have become old and you are not fit for do anything. So superannuation, I felt it is a good word, so I always say I got superannuated and I got associated with Mehta and Mehta, that is number one. Number two, even when I was working with Reliance also, I was never into a greater amount of execution in my last leg of life, especially in the last 5 years or so. I was more into guiding the people, getting the job done rather than doing the job, So here also in my new role here also, mostly what I have to do is I have to mentor them, I have to guide them, I have to push them, I have to give them how they have to groom themselves up, how they have to develop themselves up. The same point of time, any kind of interpretational issues are there, go to the clients, represent the firm, give them a comfort that I am going to be there. So the role is more or less the same. There is not a great amount of change as such which has come. That's what my feeling.
So now coming to a new segment which I introduced, that what I call as a rapid round. It's a one-word answers to this. Your first love, CA or CS?
Company secretaries.
A relaxed, lazy Sunday or addressing a seminar?
Addressing a seminar any time.
Okay, addressing a seminar or writing an article?
Addressing a seminar.
Spending leisure time with the family or friends?
Family.
Vacation abroad or Indian destinations?
Indian destinations.
Prefer taking wife to shopping or let her go for kitty party?
Let her go for kitty parties.
So no shopping for her?
No.
Catching out sleep or playing with granddaughter?
Of course, playing with granddaughter.
Playing games, sports or spending time in gym?
Spending time in gym. I am a health freak, and in fact earlier I used to spend a lot of time in the gym, and these days I do yoga and walking. So I used to walk in about 8 kilometers every day I walk, and 1 hour of yoga I do it even now also.
And lastly, watching a masala commercial movie or an art movie?
Of course, watching masala commercial movie, but unfortunately rarely I get time to watch the movies.
Okay, that's all rapid round. At the end, what do you would like to give any message to the young professionals how to have a successful and fulfilling career like you?
Yeah, my message to the young professionals, several times I have given this, ki never ever feel what's called as if you are a second fiddle as far as the company secretary is concerned. I told you already that regulators have given a lot of importance. Institute is doing their best to groom you into a decent and good professional, but you have to do from your side. Be clear with what you want to do it. In fact, several times I have seen the people that if they are not getting a job, they are coming into practice. If they are not getting clients, they are going to the job. They are messing up their own life. So they have to have a clear vision that you want to go for a service or you want to go into a practice. Then if you are going to practice also, don't expect that from day one people will put a red carpet for you. You have to definitely have your struggle. Gain experience before you put your board. Okay, don't put that, the moment you get a degree, you are putting up so and so practicing company secretaries and all, because your client, if you give you the assignment, you will not be able to deliver it because you are not experienced. So initially better to work with some corporate or some practicing company secretaries before you set up your own shop. That is number one. Number two, every day on an average at least spend 2 hours to upgrade your knowledge. Because even if you are a gold medalist also, it is immaterial. Because what you have to put into practice and what is theory is entirely different. What the knowledge you have acquired before becoming a member is only exam-oriented knowledge. There is hell of a difference between exam-oriented knowledge and the knowledge what you have to put it into practice. So that is number one. So you read each and every section. There might be 50 to 75 sections which are important on the Companies Act. Identify them. Spend 2 hours on an average every day. When you read a section, read the rules connected to that, read the forms connected to that, and at the same point of time, if that section is connected to some other section, the entire gamut of activities you have to be thorough with them. At the same point of time, don't say that I am not working for a listed company, so I don't need to see the SEBI listing regulations and all. Today you are not working, but you may get an offer from a listed company, or you may get a client from a listed company. You cannot say, okay, I will read the listing regulations and come back. You have to always prepare yourself for that. Read chartered secretaries, attend webinars not for the credit hours purpose, but you have to attend them to really listen to them. Participate in the webinars, put the questions, grill the speakers. When after delivering 2-hour lecture, when I ask, is there any questions, nobody raised the hand even to put a question. So that point of time, the faculties are not very happy if you don't put questions. If you put questions, interact with them, the faculties will also be happy. So these are a few things which you have to do it. This is what exactly did in my formative years. I got immensely benefited. Get connected with the institute wherever it is possible. Do your best for the institute, and that's what I can say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sudhakar. One of the things I can very convincingly say is that everybody at the end of 35-40 years will have a successful professional career, and they may be making good for themselves and for their family. But what you did is that apart from being a successful professional, you always given time to the younger professionals and shared your knowledge, because that is one quality which I don't find in many people, which I keep also saying that as you know that I also did my bit, and of course I did more in the organizations where I worked. I groomed my junior professionals. Giving time to the people, sharing your knowledge is very, very important, because by sharing knowledge we don't lose anything, but definitely to some extent or other people will get benefited, and they can become what we have become by the time they become of our age. So by that yardstick, you had a wonderful career, not only in the companies where we worked for the Institute of Company Secretaries, not only Institute of Company Secretaries, but many other institutes and the organizations, educational institutions where you are addressed. So I am very sure that you had a wonderful and fulfilling career, and I hope by this session of more than 1.5 hours, whatever you shared will immensely benefit younger professionals.
In fact, before we conclude, I must say that when you do these kind of things, I was just saying in today's our weekly webinar of Mehta & Mehta also, I was saying about a week before I got a call from somewhere in Tamil Nadu, one gentleman, the name of I think Mr. Subramaniam. He called me and he said that, Mr. Sudhakar, I am a chartered accountant and I am 80 years of age and I want to talk to you for 5 minutes, can I? I said, of course, please go ahead. In fact, he sent me a message and I want to talk to you. I said, what he wants to talk? He said that, look, I am retired from the profession also long back, and just to spend some time, so now I used to watch webinars, but I watch all your weekly webinars in addition to that in the institutes and all also. So I want to bless you. I was surprised why a person is calling you and saying, I want to bless you. And he read a Sanskrit shloka for about 2 minutes. He was gone reciting that and all. He said that the amount of knowledge what you are disseminating, you have to have a long life. For that, I have blessed you.
Oh, great.
So these are the things, sometimes they give you a, what's called as, to do more for the people, So I strongly believe that if you do good, good will come to you always. Yeah. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is for it today. Conversation with CS Mr. Sudhakar Saraswatula. I'll bring more such conversations in coming days with successful achievers, not only in the profession but in all other fields. Do subscribe to my channel, comment and share your views. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you.